everyone, my name is Sophia Baum. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a youth ecology coordinator for Wild Diversity. Today I'm with Travis Souls from Gresham Fire and Rescue, and we're going to talk about water safety. So thank you, Travis, for being here with us today. Please introduce yourself, your position, and what you do at Gresham Fire and Rescue.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Sophia, for taking the time this morning to interview me about this. My name is Travis Souls, and the pronouns I associate with are he, his, and him. And my position at Gresham Fire is I'm a captain, and I'm our training officer, as well as a member of our water rescue team.
Can you share with us a little bit about the water rescue program at Gresham Fire and Rescue, and also outreach opportunities with and for community members?
Certainly. So first, let me back up or digress a little bit. Most people are commonly aware, it's in our name, that the fire service deals with fires. So residential house fires, commercial buildings, car fires, that type of thing. What people aren't as commonly aware of is that we also deal with medical calls. They can range from everything from heart attacks, seizures, strokes, allergic reactions, gunshot wound stabbings, car wrecks. In addition to that, we also respond to what are classified as specialty rescues. Now, a specialty rescue is typically something that is lower frequency and a higher risk for everyone involved, including the rescuers. These specialty rescues require a higher level of training than the average person on an engine company, and they require specialized equipment. So examples of specialty type rescues would be hazardous material spills or leaks, technical rescue like someone over a cliff that they have to do a rope rescue for, or water rescue. And Gresham Fire has a water rescue team, consists of 13 members. It is based out of the Troutdale Station, Station 75. Now 13 people sounds like a lot, but when you consider that we provide coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, then the way that we do that is by shifts. We have an A, a B, and a C shift. So when you divide that up with the 13 people, it works out to about 2 to 4 people on duty per day. So that is Gresham Fire's water rescue program. As far as outreach, we partner with Multnomah County Sheriff's River program, with American Medical Responses lifeguards when they're able to have those at Glen Otto and High Rocks, and then we can also partner with Metro and the Oregon State Parks Rangers and the local communities.
Where can community members find multilingual resources?
Multilingual resources, the best thing that we have to offer, I wish we had better, but on the City of Gresham's YouTube site, there is a water safety tips that we have, and most people's browsers will have will translate that. We are also working with Metro to try and they have an informational kiosk down at Oxbow, and we're trying to get at least English and Spanish down at that site, but it's not there yet. So their best source right now is, for as far as we're concerned, our team is through the City of Gresham's YouTube page.
What can community members do to prevent or prepare for emergency situations, such as getting caught in a current or foot entrapments or drownings?
All right, so the most important thing that people can do is have a life vest, wear life vests. In most cases, they're available at a lot of the local beaches. They try and have them available for free to borrow. The other thing is increasing awareness. It's learning about the water before you go down to it. Certainly, learning swimming. I know that that's not always available to everyone, but at least learning. There's a lot of things online about just learning about the hazards of water and things to keep in mind. Those are things that people can readily do.
Travis is going to demo how to put a PFD or life jacket on, so I will let you take it away.
And the main thing is that you want it to be snug enough to where if someone were to grab onto the upper shoulders of this and lift up, it does not come above your ears. So this is both for one, when you're floating in the water, so that you're not sinking down through your life vest, or out of it. And two, if someone did need to come to your aid, one of the most instinctual things they're going to do, or anyone that's been trained is going to do, is they're going to reach out and grab onto the shoulder straps. And what you certainly don't want is when they try and pull you out, you slip out of your life vest. So again, keeping it, to use the Oregon Marine Board's little slogan again, it's snug as a hug.
So specifically when recreating, what river features should be avoided?
Calmer lagoon area type or still water is generally safer. Obviously, if you have good visibility, you can see where you're walking and moving around. If there's a lot of particulate in the water, and it's difficult to see the depth, especially if someone isn't as strong of a swimmer, they want to be very cautious of that. And then also being mindful of what we would call strainers. Anytime there's an object, typically it is a tree or tree branches, it can be fences, things like that. Anything that allows water to pass through but not larger objects, those are things that should always be avoided.
Even prior to getting in the water, what should recreators or community members consider?
The key thing to remember is one, oftentimes the water is colder than people realize. That extreme cold can take someone's breath away, it can take their strength away in a matter of minutes. So the water temperature is one thing to keep in mind. Also the currents. Anytime there is a rain or it gets dry or there's a change in weather patterns, that causes a change in current. What that does is the river changes because it's mostly a sand composition bottom, is the flow of the river can change significantly from year to year. And if your visibility is down because there's a particulate in the water, then what can happen is an area where you think there might be a ledge, there might not be a ledge the next year. So people will be in an area of the water that they think is safe, and they'll step off, and a lot of times, more times than not, that's what gets a lot of people around the Sandy River, is they wind up in deeper water than they anticipated.
Well, if we are out on the river and we're recreating and there is an emergency situation that does happen, what things should we consider before responding as constituents or as community members?
The very first thing that somebody should do is designate somebody to contact 911. And the best thing is to typically say, when we're teaching CPR, we'll tell people, have someone call 911 and then report back to me to verify that they did it. So gathering family and friends, anyone that you've come to the river with, make kind of an accountability. Make sure that you have people around and you know where your family and friends are. And then as far as a response, we always practice, even when we are going on a call, you want to go from the least amount of risk to the rescuer to the greatest amount of risk in that order. The safest thing that you can do is put an object out to somebody. Like Glen Auto, they try and keep it stocked with a type 4 life preserver, which is going to be like those cans, or typically you'll see the little donut with the ropes on them. Those are good because you can offer it to someone, even if you can't, if they don't have a life vest on, throwing a life vest to them, it gives them something to hang on to. Reaching a stick out, anything like that is going to always be safest. The key thing that people want to remember, though, is although intentions can be good, and sometimes people's hearts are bigger than their expertise or knowledge of the water might be. Someone can have the best of intentions. They can go try to help somebody else and become a victim right next to them.
Yes.
That's what we don't want.
Yes.
Because then that just made it compounded the problem for the person that's in the water.
Yeah.
Because now we're rescuing two people.
Yes.
And there have been numerous cases where people have very good intentions, but they'll go in and they get in trouble too, and then it divides resources because we're trying to save multiple people.
If and when we encounter emergency situations, what are the key things that first responders need to know that we could collect as they're approaching?
Okay. The most important thing is a good description of the victim. Are they male or female? A rough guesstimate of their age. What were they wearing? Were they swimming on the surface and somebody physically, they actually saw them go under, or did they see them out on the surface and maybe they appeared to be struggling? The person looks away, looks back, and now they don't see them. All of these things help us figure out where the emergency is, what the best resources to deploy, and where to deploy them. As we talked about already, that accountability, that's why that's so important, is to gather up anybody that might be a friend or family member of the victim, or who you might perceive to be a friend or family member of them, and gather as much information so that you know, it helps you get a picture of what the incident is.
After an emergency situation, which is a fairly traumatic event, what trauma-informed ways can we care for our community?
So Portland Fire and Rescue has a program. It's the Trauma Intervention Program, and or TIPS. That is a resource that we can access both for any type of traumatic event, from heart attacks to a water rescue type incident. They have a kind of a vault of resources that they can steer people towards, because it could be a lot of different things. There can be psychological help that people can need. There can be medical, obviously, if somebody aspirates water, and the long-term cares of that. So it kind of depends on the situation, but that is a resource that is readily available for people.
There are a lot of different ways that we could care for our community after emergency situations. So being resourceful, asking either the victim or their family or friends what it is that they need, I would say is the best approach. All right, Travis, last question. So what are the key takeaways for water safety that people need to know?
The most important takeaway is always have a life vest and wear a life preserver. It buys a person time. It gives them the ability to regain control if something catches them off guard. Things that can get people, the water is colder than oftentimes people anticipate, so being aware of water temperature. The current can be swifter than people anticipate, so being mindful of that, as well as if there's particulate in the water and it's difficult to see, there can be sudden drop-offs that can catch people off guard. All of those are reasons why PFD is so important. And drugs and alcohol do not mix well with the water. So I know that it can be tempting for people when they're recreating, but it's a bad combination. So trying to refrain from using drugs or alcohol when being around the water is almost as important as wearing PFD.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you learned a lot, especially in keeping yourself and your loved ones safe. Have a great summer, and we'll see you later.